The streets of Hong Kong sparkled with anticipation as New Year's Eve approached. Vibrant red and gold banners lined the bustling markets, firecracker stands dotted the sidewalks, and the smell of roasted chestnuts and tangy fish balls wafted through the cool winter air. Among the throng of excited children was Chan, an 8-year-old beau, with an unquenchable fascination for fireworks. Chan's eyes lit up every time he saw the colorful burst of light and heard the sharp crackle that echoed through the alleys. He spent every spare moment collecting fireworks from street vendors, saving his allowance for the bright explosives that painted the sky. "The louder, the better," he would exclaim to his friends, clutching a stash of firecrackers in his small hands. His mother often scolded him, warning him to be careful, but Chan's curiosity always overruled caution. One chilly afternoon, as Chan wandered near a park on the outskirts of the city, he stumbled upon an anthill. The mound was sizable, teeming with ants scurrying in and out. A mischievous idea sparked in his mind. "What if I put fireworks inside?" he thought, giggling to himself. The thought of a tiny explosion sending ants flying amused him to no end. Chen carefully inserted a firecracker into the anthill and lit the fuse. He backed away just in time to watch the tiny explosion erupt, scattering soil and ants everywhere. The insects crawled in frantic, chaotic patterns, their home obliterated. Chen clapped his hands, amused by the scene, and dashed back home before anyone could catch him. That night, Chen fell asleep with a sense of triumph. He dreamed of fireworks illuminating the sky, each burst brighter and louder than the last. But his dreams took a dark turn. He saw shadows crawling, whispering in a language he couldn't understand, their voices rising in a haunting cacophony. The shapes grew closer, their forms shifting and undulating like waves of ants, until they enveloped him completely. When he awoke, something was off. His ears buzzed faintly, like a faraway hum. He shook his head, thinking it was just leftover noise from the fireworks. But as the day progressed, the buzz turned into a muffled silence. By evening, Chen couldn't hear anything at all. His parents grew concerned, but they chalked it up to an infection and promised to visit a doctor after the New Year's celebrations. Chan's hearing loss was only the beginning. That night, as the fireworks crackled outside, he heard something else, whispers. They were faint at first, like the rustling of leaves, but as midnight approached, they grew louder and more sinister. "Why did you do it?" they hissed. "Why did you destroy?" Terrified, Chen covered his ears, but the whispers only grew stronger, drilling into his mind. His cries of fear brought his parents to his room, but they couldn't understand his frantic explanations. They only saw their son trembling, his face pale with terror. By the next morning, Chan's vision began to blur. He rubbed his eyes repeatedly, but the world around him grew dimmer. His parents rushed him to a hospital, but the doctors were baffled. Tests revealed nothing, and Chan's condition worsened by the hour. Swollen bumps began to appear on his face and body, red and pulsating as if alive. His mother wept as she dabbed at his forehead with a damp cloth, helpless to ease his suffering. The whispers continued, now accompanied by an unbearable itch beneath his skin. Chan's nails left bloody trails as he scratched desperately, trying to rid himself of the crawling sensation. At night, he swore he could feel tiny legs moving beneath his flesh, writhing and burrowing deeper. His parents' fear turned to desperation, and they sought help from every source they could find. A neighbor suggested visiting a local mystic, an elderly woman known for her knowledge of the spiritual world. Reluctantly, Chan's parents carried their son to her tiny, incense-filled shop. The woman examined Chan with a grim expression, her bony fingers tracing the bumps on his arms. Her face grew darker with every moment. "He has angered a spirit," she said gravely. "Not just any spirit, but the guardian of the earth and its smallest creatures. The ants are sacred, their colonies a delicate balance of life. To destroy one without cause is to invoke wrath. He must make amends or the punishment will continue." Chan's parents begged for a solution, but the mystic shook her head. "The spirit's wrath is fierce. The only way to appease it is to show true remorse and rebuild what was destroyed." Despite his deteriorating condition, Chan and his parents returned to the park. The boy, now nearly blind and covered in grotesque growths, knelt by the remains of the anthill. His fingers dug into the soil, trembling as he tried to restore the mound. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered apologies, his voice barely audible. But it was too late. That night, the whispers turned into screams. Chan's body convulsed as the bumps erupted, releasing hundreds of tiny black ants. The insects swarmed his room, their movements eerily synchronized as they climbed the walls and ceiling. Chan's parents burst into the room, horrified by the sight of their son writhing in agony. They tried to pull him from the bed, but the ants covered every inch of his body, their sharp mandibles biting and tearing at his flesh. By dawn, Chan was gone. His bed was empty, save for a pile of soil and a single firecracker lying at its center. The New Year's celebrations continued in Hong Kong, but Chan's neighborhood was shrouded in unease. Whispers spread about the boy who vanished, and some claimed to hear faint crackles of fireworks near the park at night, accompanied by the scuttling of countless tiny legs. Chan's story became a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of the unseen forces that linger in the world. As the years passed, parents warned their children not to play recklessly with fire or disturb the delicate balance of nature. And every New Year's Eve, amidst the dazzling fireworks, some swore they could see a shadowy figure in the distance, its small hands clutching a sparkler, watching in silence. The park became a place of unease, its boundaries marked by fear. Even in the daylight, there was an unnatural stillness. Ants moved in strange formations, their paths spelling out symbols that no one could decipher. At night, those brave enough to venture close claimed to hear whispers, faint but unmistakable, calling for balance, for respect. One particularly bold teenager decided to test the legend, lighting a string of firecrackers near the park's edge. The explosions echoed through the night, but instead of laughter, there was silence. Then, from the darkness, came the unmistakable hum of crawling insects. The teenager fled, his screams lost in the night, leaving only a trail of discarded firecrackers behind. Chan's parents, consumed by grief, left the neighborhood shortly after his disappearance. Their home stood vacant, a haunting reminder of the tragedy. The park remained untouched, its secrets buried beneath the soil, waiting for another curious soul to disturb its fragile peace. Every New Year's Eve, As the clock struck midnight and fireworks lit up the sky, the people of Hong Kong couldn't help but glance toward the park, wondering if the spirit was watching, waiting for someone else to tip the scales. Thank you for tuning in. Please leave a like and subscribe. I will see you again next week.